Far more than we think. Making Sense of Spirituality by Angelo. Chapter 25. The Spectrum of Spirit. Before we move on to the emerging science behind spirituality, let's pause again to review where we've got up to. The spectrum of spirit starts with acceptance and moves through the stages of gratitude, understanding, surrender, humility, non-judgment, forgiveness, compassion, and finally unconditional love. The game of life is lived in the present moment and is subject to some surprisingly simple universal laws. Once we understand the game, we can begin to make appropriate choices. As before, the chapter headings capture the key points. Chapter 9, No Such Thing as Normal. We are all unique beings and we betray ourselves by trying to be normal. Our purpose is to create a unique experience of life and not simply to just follow the crowd. Chapter 10, Perfect Balance. Everything is in balance, and in order for the good to exist, so too must the bad. The whole universe is in balance, and it was ever thus. We have darkness and light within each of us, and we get to choose which one to express in our lives. Chapter 11. There is no comparison. Comparison with others, or with our own sense of what should be, inevitably leads to negative emotions. There's no need to judge ourselves harshly, or to pass judgment on anyone else, or anything that may happen. Chapter 12. Let it be. Acceptance brings peace of mind and is a key foundation stone in building a spiritual life. The ego will resist, but the more we accept circumstances in life, the more spiritual we will become, and the more spiritual we become, the more we are able to accept things as they are. Chapter 13. The Attitude of Gratitude. Being grateful for the good things in life leads us to a far more positive experience. Gratitude is a choice, and when we choose it, we then find that we have even more to be grateful for. Chapter 14. Sense and Sensibility. The whole experience of life from birth to death takes place in our minds. Senses and emotions all seem real, but they are ultimately just electrical signals in our brains. The mind contains the ego, but spirit is energy and exists separately from this mind activity. This is the true reality of who we are. Chapter 15. Life can be a pain. Well, pain in life is unavoidable and will cause suffering if we try to resist it. The alternative is to embrace pain and use it as a touchstone for growth. Suffering is grace because it leads us back to the spiritual path. Chapter 16. Going with the Flow. Surrender is powerfully positive because it pushes the ego out of the way and allows the light of our spirit to shine through. To accept and surrender to the spirit within is to gain access to the inner beauty and perfection of who we really are. Going with the flow is the efficient way to grow. Chapter 17. Meekness is not weakness. Humility is the way of strength because the humble person has nothing to fear. Fearless people have the appearance of courage. The notion that meekness is weakness is simply not true. Chapter 18. Justice just is. Non-judgment does not imply tacit approval. We're not individually required to cast judgment or administer justice. The natural process of life will take care of everything. It takes wisdom to allow things to be as they are and to allow the natural process of life to unfold. Our task is not to change others or bend others to our will, but to change our own perceptions and behaviours. Chapter 19. Forgive and forget. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The purpose of forgiveness is to allow self-healing. When we forgive, we free ourselves to live and let live. When we withhold forgiveness, we damage only ourselves. Forgive and forget, and we may find heaven yet. Chapter 20. A passion for compassion. We are overflowing with compassion, but withhold it unnecessarily. Learning includes unlearning, and we can allow ourselves to change. Spiritual growth will gradually make us more compassionate, and giving our compassion is self-nourishing. Chapter 21. All you need is love. We have infinite unconditional love within us. In the exchange of love, it's not so much the receiver who benefits, but more the giver. Giving love is a joyous experience, and our opportunity is to live our lives as unconditional love in everything that we do. Chapter 22. Now is all there is. Our concept of time is a man-made illusion that inadvertently feeds the ego mind. The past has been experienced and the future is yet to be experienced. The only moment in which we can truly live our lives is the eternal moment of now. We can connect to the moment of now by simply being present through focus and stillness of mind. Chapter 23. The long arm of the law. The spiritual laws really work. We can attract anything that we like into our lives as long as we have honourable intentions and give attention to what we desire, provided we maintain detachment from any specific outcome. Everything in the world is impermanent and will always change, but the universe is abundant with all that we could ever possibly imagine, and our true potential will emerge once we let go of ego and change the basis of our lives from fear to love. And finally, Chapter 24, the video game of life. The game will go on forever, and there will always be the chance to give it another go. There are no winners or losers in the video game of life, but collecting nuggets of wisdom along the way will allow us to move to higher levels where the rewards are beyond imagination or comprehension. The next section of the book seeks to add some scientific explanation to the ideas that we've covered so far. To my surprise, I've found that science seems increasingly to support spiritual principles rather than undermine them.